Not
today, Satan.
That's right. All right, here we are. Hello, Amy.
Welcome, my
everybody.
Gosh. Hi, everyone. Hi, Shane.
How's it going?
Oh my gosh. Well, it's going to go fast. We're about to just jump right into the deep end because last week, right, we talked about last week the slowing down to go faster essential, right?
Yes.
And we specifically talked about it from a neuroplasticity viewpoint and exactly a practical step of get a money management system. Like, let's just get a money management system and you will start to see where you need to slow down when it comes to your money, right?
Yes.
Because once you can get a grip as an owner and a leader on what do the numbers of the money say, now we can start to evaluate the parameters that are affecting the money coming in, right? So we are not, full disclosure, top of this video, we are not financial experts. That is not the angle we come at, but we are owners. And we have tried lots of different money management systems over the years, both as executives and as the leaders of our own businesses. And we've just landed on one that we really believe in. So if you want to know what that is or hear more about it, at last week's episode will be linked in the comments and you can go check it out. So awesome. Shane, anything new that you, since last week's episode, you want to jump with? Anything sticking out to you?
No, nothing sticking out to me. I think it's if you are new to this idea of what it really means to slow down, go back to last week.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a good starting point. Then come back here.
Yeah. Perfect. That's great advice from the coach himself. You can tell who is the coach approach to this podcast and who is not. Let's just get there. So there is a woman at Harvard. Her first name is Teresa, and I don't really know how to pronounce her last name, but she looked into the daily habits of hundreds of knowledgeable workers, Shane, across multiple industries. And this is what she found, that all the things that can boost our mood and motivation during the workday, of all those things, the single most important was making progress on meaningful work. So if there's lots of studies done and you can Google it, but like making money is not meaningful work to the average worker. Right. There's other things that are more meaningful to them. So I just want to drop that there. But then this author, Jocelyn Glee, goes on to say that the problem is that these small wins are notoriously hard to measure. So in her book, she also says, most of us make advances small and large every single day, but we fail to notice them because we lack a method for acknowledging our progress. And this is a huge loss, she says. And I agree with that. Do you agree with that, Shane?
I do. I mean, I think, this is the time of year where people make a lot of resolutions. I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And then, 2 weeks in, people are already saying, nah, I'm just going to have to rethink. And that plays into exactly what's being said here. If you set this long time frame and you have no way to define, am I tracking, am I winning, am I losing? It gets demotivating for sure.
Yeah. Well, and there is a reason that our lives feel busier than ever before, but really nothing's getting done. I'll never forget, a couple of years ago, you and I sat down and wrote some content, and some of the best converting content, like to a sale, not like just to an action or a view, but actually to a sale. And one of the things that you said when we were strategizing together was, activity does not equal proactivity. And the issue is when all we see is this huge goal looming in front of us, right? So like, I need to make $100,000 this year. Or I want to have, the book pinned and a deal done this year, right? Those are huge goals. They loom in front of us. Yep. It's easy to get depressed and feel defeated. And worse, the modern work environment seems to amplify these feelings for a number of reasons. So here's some of the reasons I have found. And Shane, as I list these reasons, would you be willing to give us one thing we could do to counter these things that we're doing? So the first reason, right, that our work environment seems to amplify the feelings of depression and defeat is our days are filled with meaningless, busy work. So what that might look like for those of us, especially that are entrepreneurs or the leader of an organization or a team, is that so many of us spend our days in reactive mode, answering the emails, chatting on Slack, responding to issues. And in the moment, it feels like we're doing important work, but we're actually only reacting to things that leave no true progress to be found. So what is one thing, Shane, that you would tell us from a coach perspective, and even from your own personal perspective, that we could do to measure our work so that we feel like we have created something that's meaningful?
So I think number one is, I would say, before you even get into the idea of measuring your work, just based off of this first reality that most work is meaningless, is daily clarify your priorities.
Yeah.
Like so much of the Slack conversation, so much of the searching, so much of the let me just go do something is because we haven't clarified what we really want today. So clarify daily what your priorities are, and you'll be moving towards more meaningful work than if you just let the day come as it may. So that's the first thing I would say. Yeah.
So clarifying conversation.
Every single day. Clarify your priorities every day. Don't go into the day and saying, well, I wonder what the day holds for me. Nope. I'm coming into the day with, this is where I'm going to take my energy and my focus for today. It's going this way. Now you'll be able to guard against all of those things that start to compete for your priorities much better, like Slack, like whoever comes into your office, whatever else it may be.
Yeah. So what I hear you saying is define them, clarify them, make sure I know why I'm working and what I'm working for. So I'm going to give an example of how I do that, and you tell me if I'm tracking with your advice. So I have one objective a day, and that objective goes at the top of every planner, every list. It's one objective a day. And then all of the work that I do that day must roll up to that one objective. Is that clarifying the priority?
It is.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
That's it.
Okay.
That's it.
Well, I think that would lead into the next reason we feel depressed and defeated in our work is because we've lost the ability to set meaningful, effective goals.
Yes.
So I just wrote about this today, forgetting that I had written this content 2 weeks ago for our talk today. But the reality is goals are not meaningful unless you have systems and processes to execute a clarifying priority, is exactly what you said. So if we set effective goals, how do we come to effective goals? Like, what does that even mean?
Yeah, I think a couple of thoughts come to mind. One is the most difficult question for most of us to answer is, what do we really want?
Yeah.
So I have one client who told me recently, my goal for 2023 is professional growth. I'm like, well, you're setting yourself up for failure. Like, how do you even, what do you mean when you say professional growth? Like, well, what does that even look like? Because if you can't visualize what it looks like, you certainly aren't going to be able to measure whether or not you're moving in that direction. So the most difficult part of that process is getting really specific. So professional growth could be a million different things. You got to pick one. You got to pick one. What does it mean to grow professionally for you? There's no right or wrong answer. It's just your answer. So some of this is we get caught by, having to impress other people. We want to make it sound right. We want to be sure we're not, going to have FOMO, missing out on something somebody else has got. We always want to keep our options open. It's like, no. You're setting yourself up to feel overwhelmed or underproductive if you don't get very specific and commit. So to me, it's all about defining what you want. And we're talking about how do you get to this place where you can set meaningful, effective goals? Get really clear on what you want. If you don't know, start with your values. What do you care most deeply about? And what might it look like to do a little bit more get a little bit closer to what your vision is for that this year than you did last year, tomorrow, versus today.
Yeah. Yeah. So how do we then, because this is the third reason that came to my mind, that we have this depressed and we deal with displeasure and discouragement in our work, is that we've lost the ability to handle uncertainty. So basically, when we can't manage or measure progress, large projects can become overwhelming really fast.
Yeah.
Which means we're going to be more likely to just be like, hands up in the air, I'm done. Right.
Totally.
So how would we handle uncertainty in the process of moving towards this outcome we want?
So I think, when we face that uncertainty of, just not knowing, like, are we going to actually get there? Is this going to happen? I think it first starts by saying, you know what, this all works out. This all works out.
Yeah.
And there is a peace and a joy and a clarity that you can now move into whatever comes your way. If this all works out, this all works out. And so now when it all works out, and when I say it all works out, I mean, if you look back on your life 20 years ago, the stuff you were dealing with on whatever that day was, January 13th of 20 years ago, like, you'd have thought the world was going to end if you didn't get these 4 big things that were on your plate solved, and it was just going to be terrible. Look at you now. I mean, I'm not talking about just you, if you're with us today, look how much further down the road you are than you were even 2 years ago. And all those things, they worked out because you kept going. You kept going. So look at the learning that comes where we don't have the certainty. Look at that learning that comes as giving you inputs on what you might need to do next to get just a little bit more clear on where you are going and how that's working. And I think if you stick with it, what you'll find is your confidence begins to increase, which is the lack of confidence is where uncertainty is. Am I going to lose control? Am I not going to be able to do this? All of those things happen. So I want you to start with, it's going to be okay. This is all going to work out. It might not be the path you think gets you there, but it'll get you there if you keep going.
Yeah.
And as your confidence increases, now you'll be able to see differently. I hope that makes sense. There's a little bit of a soapbox ramble there.
No, it's so good. It's so good. And it requires us to really listen, which is not something we're really challenged to do these days. So I would really challenge you all to go back and just listen to the last 2 minutes, and just really listen to what Shane is saying, because the reality is that if you cannot handle uncertainty and you don't have a strategy to pivot when things don't go well, because that's what you can count on. That's what you can count on, is that things are not going to quite go according to plan. And I know we hear this, but we are more often taken off track in the work when things don't go according to an expectation that we didn't even know we had until faced with uncertainty. So a very famous cosmetic guru, you probably know who she is, Mary Kay Ash, said, you can always tell the size of a person by the size of the mountain that stops them. So there's always going to be a mountain.
Well, that's so good.
But your character, and that's what this is. That's what we're talking about. It is a character flaw. And I've had it, and I still have it. I mean, I'm still confronted with things that are flawed in my character on a daily, weekly, monthly basis that I have to turn my attention to. I have no way achieved perfection, nor will I on this earth.
Right on.
But the thing I have found, Shane, that I want to leave everybody with, and I know that you and I have made these 4 things very, very central to our life and our work, which has helped us remain steady. I mean, 2020 did not knock us, man. It didn't even jar us. We were a little bit like, okay, I guess we need to kick in our 20% margin of error and keep on trucking, because we already knew what to do every single day that we had our work planned.
Yeah.
So we have created a download and even a video explaining these 4 things at don'tbefooledpodcast.com. And I will link the free download. It's just the 4 most important things that every owner will literally do every day if they want to move towards predictable paychecks, predictable outcome, more time freedom, and even really honestly reducing the costs in your business and keeping more of the money that's coming in. If you want that to happen and you want to attract and hire good people, the 4 most important things are central to your everyday workflow process. I mean, what is one thing that people tell us all the time, Shane, is I don't know what to be. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yes. Yeah.
Especially, and these are people that have owned business for a decade and still cannot predictably pay themselves, or people that have just started yesterday and are like, how am I going to pay myself in 30 days? The 4 most important things have been battle tested. I mean, by me and almost 1,000 owners over the course of 20 years. The more people I've told this to, the more that they've used it. Leaders in very traditional corporations, myself included, that have used these, and Shane uses them. I use them. We have a community of people that use them, and it's the same outcomes when there is attention put to them daily.
That's right.
So it can't be like this is not a magic wand.
No.
Okay. This is not some.
Not a lottery ticket.
Right. Thank you. Thank you. Not a lottery ticket.
Not a lottery ticket.
But it's important. So it's really 4 most important things. You can download them. You can organize your work around them starting as early as today. And there's a video there explaining how to use them. So I'll link that URL here in the description and also in the chat. So I just have to say, Shane, that until we understand that slowing down is the secret sauce to accelerating all of our most desired outcomes, we won't do it. And we will actually never be able to harness technology, because technology requires a slowing down to speed up too. It's part of its process.
Yeah.
So I hope that you will take this advice from Shane, the coach, and that you will heed the warning of these are the things that are really going to cause depression and dissatisfaction in your work if you don't attend to them. And hey, here's the way out, the 4 most important things. I hope that you'll take that information and turn it inward and become the person that can truly, truly guide a business and direct it towards a very profitable and impactful and truly change the course of your legacy for you and your family. That's the opportunity we have before us if we will exercise discipline. So with that, Shane, I hope you have a wonderful weekend.
You too.
And we will talk again next week, 12:30. All right.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.